Hey everybody, what's going down? It's your girl J.Renae. You know, all us got something to say, and today we got a special guest in the building. I'm talking about, you have heard his voice on any and everything from Transformers to, 100 more, well, actually probably more than 100 of movie trailers, games, commercials, you name it, he has done it. Give it up for the epic voice guy, John Bailey.
Boo, get off the stage.
How did you get started in becoming who we now know as the epic voice guy?
I kicked the door down to a studio and said, let me have a job. No, it took a long time. It took a lot of work. It started with just a local place back in Memphis that gave me a shot. And eventually from that point, it was just big break after big break. And one break would lead to another, which lead to another. And word of mouth, you get out and you do the stuff. You put what you can do out to any place that you can find, whether it be YouTube or whatever, and you just keep on pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. And eventually 15 years later, hey, there I am.
Growing up you grew up in Mississippi.
Memphis, Tennessee. Well, you are correct. It was DeSoto County, Mississippi, just below Memphis. But Memphis is the next major. If you say Mississippi, people automatically assume Jackson or the Gulf. So it makes more sense to say Memphis because it was literally the road that separated my neighborhood from the neighborhood to the north of us was called State Line Road for a reason. It was literally the place that separated between Mississippi and Memphis. So we were like right there. And I was born in Memphis, and my parents and grandmother lived in Memphis. So I was there for a good half of my non-married life.
What was that moment where you decided that voice acting was going to be your career, or it was going to be your dream to actually accomplish it?
Sorry about that. I never really had a pivotal point where I was like, this is a thing. I'd been inspired as a kid. When I first heard Peter Cullen, who does the voice of Optimus Prime, I heard him in the opening part of Voltron TV series. And it's just something about that voice that I thought was cool. And it wasn't that I wanted to be that voice in that show. I just wanted to be, I want to be that. I want to be that voice that people are like, whoa, what was that? That was cool. Because it made me stand up and pay attention. It was like, that was neat. And, but it was just kind of a thing in the back of my head. I never really thought of it as a job. In fact, I think I was probably 15 or 16 before I realized that was a career that you could actually be in. And then I started just being interested in how it all worked and who was who, because a lot of the stuff back in the day, they didn't credit it. They just put the names of the people who did the stuff. They didn't tell you what voices they did. You just had to figure it out. So I just started learning who did what and started kind of, taking improv classes. And we ordered cassette tapes off the internet where we could, I know, we're that old, we had cassette tapes that had how to create character voices from people like Pat Fraley, who did the voice of Krang back in the 80s. And it was very intriguing. I'd always been intrigued with the human voice and just sound in general. I used to love remixing sound effects. When I first got on a computer, one of the things I used to do was just compile audio and mix different sound effects together to make a new sound out of it. Like I made an entire indoor soundtrack from Star Wars Empire Strikes Back with just samples of stuff that I had found on the internet and re-edited it in my crappy Packard Bell 486 for before Windows was still 3.0, I think. And I was just fascinated with the whole thing. It's funny because I have kind of a technical a point of view about it, as well as just because there's a lot of different parts to it. There's improv, there's memorization, there's acting, there's being able to lip sync very quickly to certain specific mouth movements. Networking is involved, social skills are involved, making content part of it, having an agent. There's so many different things that have to all work together like a well-oiled machine, or it just does not work. So I worked as hard as I could and did everything I could think of to get out there. I made a lot of mistakes, fell into a lot of potholes because I didn't know any better. And I was just learning everything from scratch. It was all trial and error. But now that I know all that stuff, of course, everybody comes to me going, give me all the secrets to being a voice actor. I don't want to have to go through all the work. No, if you don't go through the work, then you don't end up a very good actor. Because when you get handed the keys of the kingdom, but you don't have the skills or you're not ready yet, it won't do you any good. You'll fall flat in your face and you'll ruin your reputation before you ever even get a chance to get started. And nobody will want to hire you because they won't see you as a professional. They'll just see you as somebody who knew how to get to where they needed to get, but weren't ready for it.
What was that moment, that emotion when you actually heard your voice on an epic scale? Like, what, when you heard your own voice, could you believe it, that it was actually you, or were you just
I
like,
guess the first time I really had that crazy moment was when the Captain Rex toys came out for Star Wars: The Clone Wars. I had recorded that 3 or 4 years earlier, and all the stuff that I'd heard myself on was basically on the internet. So I was just like, well, that's cool and all, but it's not television. It's not a video game. It's not anime. It's, it's great. And it made me a little bit of money to help pay the bills. But it wasn't my full-time career yet. It was more like a way to make extra money on top of my full-time career. So when that toy came out and I went to Target and pushed the button on the helmet and heard my voice, it was so surreal. I was like, I can't believe that that's me coming out of the voice of a toy. That's so surreal and cool. And anyway.
Did you tell
And not
your whole
just
family
any
to buy
toy,
it?
a Star Wars toy, like one of my favorite franchises.
Did you tell your whole family to buy it? Be like, hey, look, for Christmas, everybody gets a T-Rex. Everybody. I don't care who you are. Tell your friends.
They didn't give me a bunch of free helmets. I had to buy my own.
Oh,
But I know it doesn't work. It doesn't work the way people think, that people just give you free stuff and that you make millions of dollars and all this. No, it's hustle. It's a grind. You have to. Some of the biggest voice actors in the business still audition every single chance they get. They still get out there and freaking hustle because they know that even if you book a major show, that show's not going to last forever. You can't bank on every cartoon or anime being the next Simpsons or One Punch Man. You have to just keep on hustling, because you know that any day you could be replaced, or the show could get canceled, or it could drop before it reaches syndication, which means you don't get any residual. That you can't bank on any of that stuff. And I'm sure that when people book shows like Gravity Falls, for example, I bet they thought that they were like, man, we're going to have like 10 seasons of this show because the show is so, and then 3 seasons gone. You just don't know. The creator might decide, well, why not doing more than this? So you have no idea. So you just have to live. You have to live your life 1/4 mile at a time.
I want to get into you being the epic voice guy. You also have done, I believe it's called match voice, where you match
voice matching. You're close.
Voice match. I just switched. So talk to me a little bit about that and what all that is.
It's one that requires a very particular set of skills. So you have to be able to listen to the audio reference of whatever actor that they're trying to either fix a line or change a line for, or whatever. So there's different types of it. There's doing, it's all kind of falls under one umbrella, but one is movie trailers. So any kind of promo or trailer. Sometimes the actor's too busy. Sometimes they already recorded it, but that was mess up, or most of the time it's because they had to Frankenstein together a sentence, so it sounds very badly edited. And sometimes they'll just leave it that way because they'd rather have the actor's voice and it sound horrible than just replace it and make it sound better. But usually they'll have me come in, somebody like me come in and like smooth out the line, and nobody notices it's me. It's not credited. You just get a paycheck for it, and it's still a cool job. Then there's actual, TV and film. I'm not sure how much I'm allowed to talk about, but there's certain shows I'm afraid to break non-disclosure agreement, like a certain Disney show that came on Disney Plus recently, where it's my voice instead of the main actor's voice, in a thing, or somebody else's. And we're surgical with it. I mean, we have to be, because the actors don't even want to know that their voices have been replaced, or they don't want other people to know. I remember a good example of this was Tom Hardy was very not happy that my buddy Brad, who passed away from a heart attack a couple of years ago, that he did Venom's voice. He wanted to be Venom's voice, and he didn't want anybody else knowing that somebody else did it. And that's why the voice changed so much from the first film to the second film, because Tom Hardy demanded that he be the voice for it. Plus the fact that, Brad Venable had passed away, but it was so much cooler having that extra layer of cool, that voice where they kind of mashed his voice together with Brad's. That made it a lot better in the first film than the second one. The second one sounds more like a kiddish Muppet, you know what I mean? Like it's very puppy dog, kind of Drax-ish, which it works, but at the same time you can tell a difference. So sometimes it's because they're unavailable. Sometimes it's because it's not in their contract, or because it would cost them way too much money. But usually it's because it's so last second, there's just no way to get a hold of somebody to get that re-recorded. When I've worked on anything with Ryan Reynolds' voice, they've actually told me before that they're like, Ryan would just let you do all this if he could. Like, he wouldn't even record it if he didn't have to. But he would rather have somebody do 15 sessions, making a little bit of money, filling in, getting everything nice and finished. So that way he just has to do it one time and he's done. And he actually appreciates that because he doesn't have to record 15, 16 times because he's insanely busy. He's trying to make time for his family, and he did a ton of stuff last year. There was so many movies. Some of the stuff he worked on last year still isn't out this year. He's got another Will Ferrell Christmas movie coming. I think that comes out at the end of this year. The Adam Project comes out this year. He's constantly working. But I had read in an interview about him that he likes to work really fast and just get done. And I was like, that makes so much more sense why he liked when I worked on the Mint Mobile ad with him, because we got done in like 20 minutes. And the other people he'd been working with, he'd been with them for like 3.5 hours. So I was like, I don't like to waste time. I just want to run and gun, man. I was hoping if I got done fast enough that he and I could make a little content or something, but no, it's okay. But he liked the work ethic. He liked the speed at which we got done. We did 2 takes and we were done. That was it. Anyway, so yeah, it's sometimes it's trailers, sometimes it's for the actual film, sometimes it's for a show, sometimes it's for anime. It's pretty much the same thing. So Bumblebee started off that way. The Bumblebee movie, I was the temp voice for Optimus Prime for like 3 really short sessions. They were like 10 minutes a piece, spread out over a couple of months' time. And it was just, they were trying to get the line to fit in a certain speed, certain time. And it was kind of meticulous how they wanted it to, because it had to fit. The animation was already done. And the movie had 1/10 of the budget that the previous films had. And the original actor had said, no, I'm not working for that rate. And I had double and triple checked about it. So I didn't want to step on anybody's toes. I'm like, I'm not going to take a job from another actor, especially my favorite voice. But while I was there, they had auditions. Well, they didn't auditions. They were like, we want to know if you could read for any other characters. So it was me and Steve Bloom. And if you don't know anything about voice actors, Steve Bloom is an incredibly talented voice actor who's been around for 3 decades or so. And he's got a world's record for most video game characters booked. I mean, the guy's amazingly talented and huge. So one of his biggest characters was Spike from Cowboy Bebop, and a lot of people know who that is. He was Wolverine in the X-Men. So there's a lot. He's got a huge credits. He's done tons of Transformers, by the way. So I knew that whenever they were like, how many characters have you booked? I'm like, oh my God, why of all people did it have to be Steve? Because Steve booked because he's like, done it, didn't do it, done it. I'm like, great, there's not going to be anything. I'm going to get crumbs. I'm going to get crumbs of characters I don't even like left over, and all the cool ones are going to get taken. So there was only like a couple of guys left for me to record for. And it was just temporary, which is what my job usually consists of, just doing the temp audio stuff. And if you've ever gone to a screener in Hollywood, you'll know exactly what I mean, because you'll hear voices switch out, because the animation's not done, or the voice is not done yet, or the hadn't been recorded yet. So I did my 2 characters, and I said, you know what, would you mind if I read for a couple of these other characters? Because I've kind of been doing Transformers voices since I was 8, and I'm pretty dang good at it after 30 years of practice. He's like, oh yeah, okay, cool. And then I started doing a few. He's like, holy crap, man, you're blowing my mind. You sound just like the characters from the original show. I was like, that's what I do. And then a few months went by, and they let me know, by the way, your temporary work went into permanent work. Like you are going to be the voices for these 2 characters. And I'm just like, so that sometimes that happens, sometimes it does. Either way, ADR is ADR, regardless of whether you end up in the credits or you end up in the final version or not. And sometimes you get credited for it, and sometimes you do not. Sometimes they just credit the engineer and the director and the studio that did it, and not the actors who actually performed. But for some things like Detective Pikachu, you actually get a credit in there in the additional voices section. So there's been a couple of times where I was credited. There's been a lot of times where I wasn't. So it covers doing animated characters or re-recording dialogue for actors in certain things. And it also covers things like anime, where it's dubbing, where you have to re-record audio or record audio to match the flaps on or whatever. Even if whether it's live or not, it's still considered ADR. All of that is kind of covered under one umbrella. But the majority of what I do is actually voice matching, the dubbing stuff, and doing the voice work for stuff like Bumblebee that's a little more rare than just the average everyday. Hey, we need a line replaced. Oh, sorry, it's so early. We need a line replaced for so and so for this trailer or this whatever thing. And it's a completely different creature. One job takes a couple of minutes just to do one line. Another job, they have to book you for hours, and they go through pages and pages, and we have to listen to beeps on one screen and memorize the line really quick because they can never seem to be able to put the words right next to the mouth that you're trying to match it up to. And it's a lot of very technical skills because you have to match the mouth, you have to match the voice, and you have to match the performance. And you have to do it at just the right time, just the right speed. And it's and I work very quickly. I'm kind of like Ryan Reynolds in that regard. I don't like to waste time. I'd rather the studio be like, man, we got done in 2 hours. This guy's great, you know. And that happened most recently, even with kidney stones. I had kidney stones for Christmas Eve. I had a kidney stone. It was so bad I went to the hospital. I thought maybe I'd ruptured an appendix. And then I also caught COVID. This is the same. So I had COVID and kidney stones. And there was a job that I'd booked for a Bruce Willis film doing Bruce Willis's voice. And I was like, look, I can't. I'm in so much pain. My throat is tired from the COVID, just made me have like a tired voice. And they're like, we can reschedule. It's fine. We'll give you a few extra days. They're cool with it. I'm like, because usually that happens. They'll find somebody else. So it's a very competitive business. And they changed it to, sorry for the suspense and the drama. I swear, this only happens when I'm being interviewed. I never yawn, but as soon as I get recorded for an interview, it's like I cannot stop. Like, your interview is so boring. I'm boring myself to death.
Oh man, you're not bored. Trust me, I'm engaged in everything because I'm just in awe that the movies I've seen, the trailers I've heard, I'm just like, I'm speaking with the guy that voices all of them, and it's just the suspense
not all of them,
that you
but
have.
yeah.
A majority that I've seen,
Yeah.
the majority I've seen, and I was just, even when I was younger, I used to be like Jim Cummings, top of the line. I mean, oh my goodness. Yep. Tigger and Pooh, I grew up on them. I was like, oh, I don't know how he did it. For fact, Pooh and Tigger definitely had conversations. And so even Seth MacFarlane, and it's just amazing that I could.
Well, Mel Blanc in Looney Tunes, he talked to himself all the time.
Yeah, and you know, growing up, you don't think that. I know I didn't think that. I was like, oh my goodness, it's just two people in the studios just having a ball. And then the older you get, you find out it's one person. You're just like, how did you not, like, how do you not trip up on yourself when that goes on?
It takes, like I said, it takes practice and skill. I'll try to finish the story now. I'm done yawning. So they postponed it to New Year's Eve. So I had to work on New Year's Eve, and it was right at the time that I was so grateful that the timing worked out so wonderfully, since the sarcasm, right when I'm having a kidney stone, like it hit that it's trying, because anytime it tries to move, it's just hours of pain, and eventually it'll go away and then it'll move again. But it hit me, and usually it hit me late at night, but this time it hit me right in the middle of the afternoon, right at the time the session was going on. And the director was like, are you sure you want? I was like, no, dude, I'm a professional. I can do this. I made light of it. I made kidney stone jokes like the entire time. But they'd booked me for 3 hours to do an entire film. Even with a kidney stone, I knocked it out in an hour because I was like, I want to get back in bed and curl up in the fetal position till I die from this thing. Because he was like, dude, you're freaking good. I was like, yeah, imagine how good I would do if I actually wasn't doubled over in pain and being tried to killed by a piece of barbed wire that's stuck inside my body.
I mean, that was the story. Okay. I wasn't laughing at the fact. It was just how you compared it to barbed wire inside your body. Y'all, kidney stones.
The kidney stone, honestly, it looks like the logo from Twisted Pictures, like a railroad spike covered in rust with barbed wire wrapped around it. That's what a kidney stone. Yeah, it's the closest thing a guy can do to having a baby. But you know what? You guys usually have babies. Those who have babies within, like, you know, at the worst, within 14, 18 hours or so. 2 weeks. 2 weeks it took me to pass that stupid kidney stone. It was a brutal, brutal, painful experience.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, if you guys had to have babies, all you moms out there, if it took you 2 weeks to have babies, this would be a lot less population on this planet. That's all I'm saying. Be like, no, I'm not having children. I'm not spending 2 weeks pushing that thing out. It hurts.
Yeah, I'm my mom's only kid. I was like, hey, you know, it could have, you know, slid out, a little sibling. She's like, no, your head was too big. I said, oh, okay. All right. That means I think a lot. Okay. I'm going to just take it as something good. But talk to me about the Emmy nomination for Honest Trailer. That's correct?
Yes. I think what happened is that a couple of big actors started doing short form videos on YouTube, and they wanted to create a new category for that. I think that's the only reason why it happened. But we got nominated with a couple of other pretty decent sized stuff, and we were nominated 4 years in a row that I remember. I'm not sure if we did last year or not, but as far as at least 4 times we've been nominated for Emmy. Never won one. Always a bridesmaid, never a bride. But yeah, it's really, I mean, it's cool. It helps. I can say I worked on an Emmy nominated show. I mean, there's not a lot of people that can say that. So, you know. Sorry, there's not more to that story.
Oh no, you're good. Talk to me about the preparation you go into, whether it's voice matching, even though that is what you said before, that's what you majority do. But before you record, because I listened to your YouTube video where you said that a lot of people are actually calling you or trying to email you to do like ringtones or some type of voicemail message, and then they just came too great.
Yeah, I finally had to say, look, I can't just keep being a public voice monkey for free. So I created a Fiverr account just so people could do fan requests without me being, because that way, and I could put the money towards charity, at least part of the money towards charity if I wanted to. And it was a way to like just not have to do it. And it kind of screened a lot of people from being like, hey, can you record such and such for me? Well, I would love to record something for everybody if I had time, but I do have a career and a family, you know, so it's like it's busy. But if you pay $5, you can do 25 words, and most people seem to be okay with that. But I've had people like when I started Cameo, I got to where I hated Cameo because they wouldn't go by the rule. I mean, there's a reason why there's a character limit in what you can write out for people to say. And people would like, hey, they would send me like a link to 2 or 3 pages of stuff for $50. And I'm like, are you insane? No, I'm not doing this much stuff for $50. Because most of the people on Cameo that are celebrities, whenever they're like, hey, can you just give me a shout out to so-and-so? And that's pretty much all they do. And they'll go on and talk about their careers. And I remember my favorite episode of such and such that I worked on. That's one thing, but they're not having to memorize and do and perform a speech. They're just talking about stuff that they, you know, went through or things that they did or worked on. And it's a different creature when somebody's like, hey, make a full trailer out of my sister, and here's her name, and she likes noodles. I'm like, you didn't give me anything to go on. And I'm like, what am I supposed to? And I'm just like, you're paying $50 and I'm having to throw in improv and voiceover skills in the same freaking thing. That seems a bit much, you know, for what little money. And people don't know what my normal rate is, so they don't know that they're insulting me. And it's just like, okay, just write what you want me to say, and it has to fit in the. How hard is that? It has to fit in the freaking character thing, and write what you want me to say, and that's all I'm going to do for this much money. Because that's what most of the voice actors do. They'll be like, okay, if it fits in the text box, then I'll record it. So yeah, I used to get a lot of requests for stuff, and then it kind of slacked off, and I'm like, oh, you can go to this website. Oh, well, you're not going to do it for free, jerk. You know, of course, I'm the jerk for not giving up my time actually doing my job for them to do free stuff.
Have you ever met Peter Cullen or Jim Cummings, or
Yep.
even you have? How was that?
Never meet your heroes. No, our first interaction was really, really cool. I just wanted to thank him in person for like inspiring me as a kid to pursue this career. And my manager happened to be somebody that he had a little thing for back in the day. So he knew who she was, and he's like, oh, wow. And I had said, you know, that I had you know, growing up, doing his voice, kind of like prepping to do this career. And he's like, oh yeah, what's that sound like? And there's one rule I have. I never do an actor's voice back to them unless they actually request it. And I did the transform and roll out thing. And he goes, whoa, come here and give me a hug. And he like hugs me, you know, and I was like, oh, man, hugs by Peter Go. Jim's a little more standoffish, but you know, we were in a situation where it was at a concert with Rock Sugar, which is a voice actor, mainly a voiceover band. It stars Jess Harnell, who's the voice of Wacko, is the main lead singer, and Chuck Duran, who is the lead guitarist, is the guy who does all the demos at Rock. So it's a very 80s hair band kind of thing. And because Jess is so good at impressions, he does a lot of songs, you know, where he sounds just like the original singer. And so it was at a public thing, and I was just like, hey, I'm a huge fan. You've like, and I explained, because my first manager happened to be friends with his agent. So he left me a voicemail when I first came out to LA. It was like 2017. And it was just this long, awesome voice. It was like a minute long. When it came in, was like, hello there. This is your old pal Winnie the Pooh. And I just wanted to let you know that your friend Dean, who is friends with my friend John, wanted me to call you and say things like, well, hello out there. So I shall. Hello out there. Hey, what are you talking to, buddy boy? Oh, is that our old buddy John? Hey there, John. And he just, the whole thing, Winnie the Pooh and Tigger, like for a minute long. And then when we got to hang out at the Rock Sugar thing, and then I was over at Debbie Derryberry's place, the voice of Jimmy Neutron, and they were having a pool party slash, I don't forget if it was a birthday slash pool party, but it was, anyway, it was summertime. And, you know, Jim was there, and we like interacted a little bit there too, but he's never really acted like he knows who I am or, you know, remembers me or anything, but we've had several interactions. We also got to do a quick picture at the voiceover award, voice arts awards thing. So we met a couple of times. I think he knows who I am. And it's just cool that you get to meet the people that, you know, made your childhood dreams come true, and kind of like, you know, because you're getting to meet the people that were I got to meet Darkwing Duck. Who doesn't love that? And I got to meet Optimus Prime. That's crazy, you know. And even since then, like some of the stuff that I've worked on, their names are in the credits. And I'm like, I'm working on the same thing with my hero. But yeah, it was pretty cool.
Are there any characters that you want to voice at one point or another that you haven't?
I mean, all of them. Are you kidding me? Every voice actor wants to voice everything. We just want to be able to stay in this career and actually make some money. So anything we can get. But I mean, there's certain things that you kind of have a vague. Everybody wants to work on something Disney. I would love to be a regular or a recurring character in some major animated series, or a fan favorite character in anime, like a main villain or a main hero or a sidekick. Just something that, like, oh, I love that, you know, you make this show special with your character. And I'm just kind of a foot in the door right now for animation, and do a lot of the same stuff with the ADR. It's usually background character voices. So but it's a foot in the door. It's a resume thing. It's a demo. It's a clip for my demo sometimes that might help me get jobs later on down the road. So you take everything you can get, and you hope to get more, and you just keep getting better at your job as best you can. And you've either eventually get in front of the right person, or you just do a really good job at the audition, and then sometimes that's all it takes. Sometimes it doesn't work out that way, but most of the time it does. I'll give you an example. So I have a friend that worked on a Disney animated show, and because of the success of that show, and it ran so many seasons, his stuff got out there a little bit more. And eventually it helped him book some major anime stuff where he's like recurring characters. And that's great. That's cool. But it doesn't always work out that way. You just have to like I said earlier, you just have to keep on hustling and keep auditioning and keep trying to get better, keep trying to get in front of the right folks.
If you could tell young John, give him the best advice possible, what would it be?
Don't get married. I'm kidding. I would probably say to start earlier. I would have tried to convince myself to start doing it now while I was a kid. But, you know, I don't think I would have believed myself. I don't think that my career is so surreal that I don't think I would have accepted that as the truth. Like, yeah, right. I'm going to work on Transformers one day. My favorite thing ever. No, there's no way. So, but yeah, I would try to tell myself to start getting those, because I waited too late. I didn't get into it till, you know, my late 30s or mid 30s, or no, wait, it was like my early 30s. Sorry. Forget how long I've been at this thing. So yeah, it's just like, if I had started when I was 20, I mean, I just now started trying to learn Japanese. And by the way, it's extremely early. So Ohio gozaimasu, good morning. Because I would love to be able to do what I can do in others. I want to learn Spanish, I want to learn Japanese. And it's just like, there's a lot of things you can do to make yourself better. But, you know, woulda, coulda, shoulda, you know, go back in time and whatever. I get that question a lot. But it's just like, everybody's journey has to go the way it's supposed to go. I mean, everything happens for a reason. I firmly believe that. And if I didn't get into it when I didn't get into it, is because I wasn't ready yet, or because it wouldn't have worked out. It had to go the way it went, or it would not. I wouldn't be where I am. So I have to be grateful, even for the negative stuff, even for the broken dreams and the times that I got a call back and they just, thanks for coming in me, you know, with the up down look. And I'm like, so I lost another job and wasted hours of my time just so you could go, oh yeah, thanks for coming in. You're not what we're looking for. It can be brutal, but all of that, you go through. Gold is purified by fire, you know.
You should make that a shirt. And then like make that a part of your like Fiverr account, or even your website. Like as soon as you log on, be like, good. I don't know, like that accent. I don't know what that was.
Gold is tried by fire. There you go.
That's the one. That's the one. That's That's the one. Oh my goodness. I'm going to go back and record that bit, and then like, I'm gonna be at the most random places like church, and then I'm gonna play it. So just,
It'll be your ringtone. Go up right in the middle.
Right. Somebody be like, he's on the main line like that?
Yes, Lord. Thank you, God.
Be like, Father, can you hear me? Be like, oh my goodness, what?
You're like Chris Tucker at the end of Rush Hour when the money's coming out of the sea. Thank you, God.
Oh my goodness. I just want to thank you so much for coming and talk with me on this podcast.
Thank you for having me on.
Trust me, I have been laughing to the point where tears have been rolling down my eyes.
I have that effect on people. Don't ever drink anything around me because you will spit it out your nose.
Oh, dang.
It hurts from what I've been told. So the few times that I've done it, and sometimes I don't do it on purpose, but they'll ask me a question and they'll go to get a drink, and I've already had the words coming out of my mouth. Oh no, they're gonna spit that out of their nose.
And look, you got me beat on comedy. You got me beat. I'm one of those awkward comedians. Like, I don't just put out there I'm funny. I gotta wait till we're having a conversation, then just
right.
And I was like, I'll be like, I don't think that one was a joke, but if you took it as that, let's laugh about it. Let's laugh about
it. I couldn't, when I got into stand-up, I could never be the, set up, punchline, set up, punchline. It didn't feel natural. It just feels so against the grain for me. It's like shaving backwards, like without any type of shaving cream. So I just determined, and I've also seen a lot of voice actors that weren't comedians that got into voiceover later on, because that's happened a lot. I mean, the voice of Garfield was a stand-up comedian. Tom Kenny was a stand-up comedian before he was a voice actor. You could see him in Mr. Show if you go back and watch the old stuff. But when I've seen a lot of voice actors that know that you can get cast for cartoons and things if you do stand-up. So they go from voice acting to comedy, and then it becomes, here comes the funny voices, folks. Here's so-and-so doing such and so. And I'm just like, oh, man. So I'm just like, look, that also feels very forced. I'm a storyteller, I tell funny stories, and most of them are true, and I just polish them a little bit, and then I find ways to improv between bits that lead to the next joke. And sometimes it's just a funny concept, like the idea I had for 50 Shades of Pooh. Because you can turn that into either an R-rated joke or you can turn that into a PG joke. Either way, it's freaking funny. Then suddenly Christopher Robin's red balloon sprang free. Oh, bother. And people, like, they laugh and they applaud, which is what you want to get. You want to get laughter and claps. So it's an interesting business at this career of mine. So I just can't get up there and be like, here's a bunch of voices. But if they come naturally in the flow of things, that works great. So yeah, I totally understand what you mean.
Like, I may not be like a voice actress yet, but I remember growing up, and so the people used to call the house all the time, like, the people like to text people and stuff. So what happened was, sometimes your parents be like, I'm not here. I'm not.
Yep.
I ain't here. So what I would do is I'll just pretend to be different people. I'll be like, hello? Excuse me, you got the wrong number. Like, who are you talking to? Who is that? No, mira, escúchame. Who are you talking about? No, like, for real. No, seriously. And then they'll be like, oh, wrong. Sorry, you're wrong number. Deleting from this system.
Yeah, I've messed with a lot of callers before too. In fact, my favorite thing is to repeat back to them what they say, but as a question. No matter what they say, just repeat it back as a question back to them. Hi, how are you today? How am I today? It drives them insane.
Like, I love
that. Here to talk to you about your car's my car's extended warranty.
Like, oh damn, I got a car.
Exactly.
Oh shit, I ain't even. What car I have?
The other thing that is not. That's another.
Oh my gosh.
Like, I'm sorry you broke up. Did you understand? But I'm right now.
I do like the old church lady voice be like, hello, is this J.Renae? Baby, I am blessed and highly favored. He runs this house and he runs all the water in here. That's why it's holy. That's why we drink hot.
Are you the meat delivery guy? What are you bringing by our steaks? We're starving.
Be like, darling, how dare you call me at this hour?
I can't believe I'm having to answer my own telephone. So the peasant's help has touched it. It hasn't been disinfected. Anyway, like, oh I appreciate you having me on. Thank you so much for doing the interview.
Oh my goodness, thank you. Go ahead and tell everybody where they can follow you and where your website can be located. I mean,
everything is pretty easy. I'm at Epic Voice Guy on all the major platforms, starting from least to most important. Twitch, Twitter, TikTok, or YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. So, and I just broke 100,000 followers on Instagram. I'm close to breaking 500,000 followers on TikTok. I have a video going viral on Instagram right now with 20 million views and counting. So everything has been going really well career-wise, as well, at least for social media. For something that I don't get any money for whatsoever, you're welcome, internet. Free content. Maybe one day, freaking send some money for all the stuff that I do for you guys for free.
Right, like all of a sudden it's like the PCH commercial be like, you get $5,000 for life.
Right. Well, I mean, Instagram started this whole monetization thing, and not only am I eligible, I've been approved of it, and yet I don't have any options to monetize anything. I'm like, feels like I'm kind of wasting money and time here because I could be earning something, but something's up with the app. So and when I try to contact them, I get an error message. I'm like, this seems like a way to not pay people for doing stuff. So I don't know. Maybe my phone just got broken so much that it actually broke my app too. I don't know, but I'm going to hopefully figure it out one day. But until then, be sure to like and subscribe. Until that day, until all are one. Autobots transform and roll out. And I hope you wear your brown pants.
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! I just tripped up on my own question. Like, did I just see a video of you and was that Tom Holland in the Spider-Man costume?
It looks just like him, doesn't it? It's not, but it looks just like him.
It looks exactly like him.
He's a famous Tom Holland lookalike. He's got like 2.5 million followers on TikTok. His name is Jordan Johnson. He goes by Hey Johnson on the socials. But yeah, he's a great dude. And we honestly, all that stuff that I whipped that up in an hour. Because he posted on Instagram that he was going to be at Universal Studios doing a Spider-Man meetup thing. Because he's not from here. He just comes and stays and goes. And I was like, dude, I can be there too. He's like, you want to make some videos real quick? He's like, yeah, man, we should make some stuff. So I was like, give me an hour to come up with some things. And I ran to like a 24/7 party place, found a Master Chief outfit, went to the Goodwill, found a woman's small purple jacket and just cut the top part off. I already had the exact same suit coat and shirt that JJ wears in No Way Home. And I put that underneath the Green Goblin outfit so I could just do all the Green Goblin videos, all the JJ videos. And then I didn't have a full Deadpool outfit at the time. I just had the mask. So I just had to put like a red and black suit together and put the mask on with it. So because that's the best I could do. So I was like, that's 3 characters right there. And we made 12, 13 videos in an hour. So yeah, I just run and gun. But yeah, that worked out really well. Because a lot of people are like, is that really him? Is that Tom Holland? Yeah, Tom Holland came down to Universal Studio, put on the costume and made free videos with me. Sure.
Oh my goodness. I'm giving you your flowers right here, right now.
Thank you.
Here's a bouquet.
Appreciate it. Thank you. I love flowers. They're delicious. Anyway. Thank you for having me on. I really do need to get going though.
Okay. Sorry. Everybody follow Mr. John Bailey at Epic Voice Guy. And
Mr. John Bailey is my father. Just John Bailey is fine.
Okay, John Bailey, y'all follow him, like, share, and subscribe to his YouTube channel, and follow him on Instagram on everything, matter of fact. And y'all, this is the Talk With Me podcast, and we will check y'all back next week. Bye. Hey, everybody, what's going on? It's your girl, J.Renae. You know I've got something to say. Bringing you new episodes and new guests all on Talk With Me podcast, exclusively on YouTube. Like, share, and of course, subscribe. And follow us on IG, too. All right, y'all. Bye.